What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
He said that he didn't want to be a distraction, and I agree with that. In order that we concentrate on real priority, it's a good move. Of course, it's tough for him. But it will also give us the time to make sure that we understand all details around what happened. We need to make sure that there's an independent inquiry. We already had one with the general auditor. It looks like it's not enough. Some people would like to have a second one, so I'm open to see whatever that needs to be done.
James Mennie from the Montreal Gazette, there's already been a resignation in the SAC-Click scandal, but does anybody, Eric, care? James.
Well, that may be a nice pun, but I got to tell you, this is the day that people will be dating the beginning of the end of the CAC government from.
You think so?
Listen, I know so. Listen, everyone was talking about the Auditor General's report, but isn't it funny? Up until today, Eric Kerr, I knew nothing about this. I had nothing to do with this. Then, God love him, the Journal de Montréal report that not only did Eric Kerr know about the cost overruns and problems with the SAC-Click project, he camouflaged $222 million in additional funding. In other words, he broke it up into smaller contracts so the Auditor General, or indeed the Treasury Board, wouldn't notice this money was going over there. This guy has been caught in a bald-faced lie, and the fact of the matter is, this is Francois Legault's boy, his right-hand man. I'm very, very sorry. This is a very understandable and very serious scandal. And the fact, when I saw that story this morning, I figured the clock began ticking. I figured he's got like 24 hours. But he's not a distraction. If you want to see a distraction, my friend, we're going to be talking about SAC-Click for almost as long as we're talking about Donald Trump. This is a huge deal, a huge story, a huge scandal, and it's one that is not affecting a small slice of the population. Tens of thousands of Quebecers were affected by the CAC government's incompetence on the so-called SAC-Click project. It went over budget. It still doesn't work. And now we're seeing that a minister who over the space of 24 hours, on the one hand said, I had nothing to do with this, has not at all challenged one single syllable of a news report saying, not only did you know about this, you tried to cover it up. Please, this is not some kind of, it's all inside baseball. This is a government that got caught with its pants down. The governments are saying that, the opposition rather, is saying Kerr got caught with his hands in the cookie jar. This is finally an expose that even the most staunch supporters in French language media of the CAC cannot dismiss. This is showing that this government not only doesn't know what it's doing, but when it discovers it's made a huge mistake, it tries to cover it up. So yes, when you have Francois Legault kind of, sheepishly saying, well, yeah, I think we should have a public inquiry. He knows if he doesn't have a public inquiry, metaphorically speaking, the opposition parties, all of them, will have his head on a spike every day between now and Election Day next year. He wants to get this out of the way. And please, don't be surprised if you see some other members of cabinet get thrown under the bus because of this. There is no excuse for this. They have been caught in a huge, huge deception. No denials, just I don't want to be a distraction resignation. So, yeah, this is a big deal.
We had the Liberal transport critic on yesterday, and he also wants the resignations from Geneviève Guilbeault and François Bonnardel.
Well, actually, it's a part of our system of government. This is hardly revelatory. When you are responsible for a portfolio and that portfolio is bungled to the tune of $1.1 billion in normal conditions, in a government that had any sense of perhaps duty or responsibility, you would resign. The fact that we required a crowbar in the form of some good old-fashioned, investigative journalism on the part of the Journal de Montréal to get Eric Kerr out of cabinet is just an indication of how little this government gives a damn about what it does, or it does what it can get away with. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if between now and say, mid-March, Francois Legault will find some other existential crisis for Quebec identity, attributable to immigrants or Anglos, and start focusing on that. But the fact of the matter is his government has been exposed for what it's been for the past almost 8 years, which is incompetent and, quite frankly, very, very dishonest.
Canada's fentanyl czar is currently in Washington meeting with U.S. officials, to discuss the handful of fentanyl that crosses from Canada into the U.S. each year. Trump's current strategy with these tariffs is a little confusing. It feels like every time he says something on social media or in a press conference, somebody from his team has to sort of walk it back a little bit the next day.
Well, it seems that every time Donald Trump establishes a date to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico, he drops his phone while he's sitting on the toilet, gets up, forgets what the date was, and then gives us a new date. Now we're saying it's going to be March 4th. We'll see about that. But it's very interesting. And I heard your last interview with our CTV correspondent. Given that he's saying this is going to go through, I'm sorry. Maybe it's for the better that I'm not prime minister. But if the president of the United States is saying, I'm going to be imposing tariffs beginning on March 4th, and I already have my delegation down there, I would pull that delegation out. I'd get my fentanyl czar and say, listen, give me your little czar hat there because you're not the czar no more. Oh, by the way, Trump, you want to keep fentanyl coming out of, from going into the U.S.? Beef up your own border. We're sending our Black Hawk helicopter back to the Acme Black Hawk rental company, okay, and deal with it on your own. This guy is a drug-addled, senile, incompetent, okay, who tripped into office and is now, as I say, making it up as he goes along. I know, even as I speak, the Trump fanboys are texting the show saying, oh, no, you don't understand. It's all part of the art of the deal. This guy has no idea what the art. First of all, he didn't write a word of it. But the fact is, the big question, guys, is how long will Canada, how long will Europe, how long will the rest of the world, okay, keep dancing to a tune being piped by an increasingly, obviously, demonstrably incompetent, and for all I know, incompetence mentis Donald Trump. Things are getting out of hand. And you take a look at the markets today, as I'm sure a lot of people in Canada and the U.S. are, there's way too much red there for Mr. Trump to turn around and say he's winning anything. This guy is a bull in a china shop, and the only people who can sit back and really nod and say, well done, President Trump, are Vladimir Putin and company.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. Talk to you again tomorrow.
Matt.